and welcome to the Mirror. Exciting. The Mirror. Everybody, can you keep your phones muted, please? Thank you. I love this, the mirror work. It's very powerful. It's very healing. But this is off of the book, Mirror, Mirror, a step-by-step guide to a life that loves you back. And I sent out the link a bunch of times. If you still need it, remember to write me. If you can't find it in any of the emails, and I'm happy to send you that ebook. It's about discovering yourself and having these major healings, the healings that we all want. The things that we get confused about is the processes on how to do it. Everybody teaches things differently, and so that's why it's very interesting and cool to have different teachers, because you get to learn from a plethora of people instead of just one. And that's where I think that it's important, because everybody is different and there are answers to your questions. They just need to be presented. So I've been doing this work for 13 years online as a teacher, and I've been doing it since I was 24 years old, and I'm twice that at least and more. So it's been a beautiful journey for me. The mirror allows us to see within ourselves, and a lot of people are very afraid of the mirror. I'm going to let people in as we go through our talk today. People are afraid of the mirror to look at themselves, not just because they're seeing an image that they don't like, that they're not familiar with, but because they have stories that come up when they look at themselves. There's some statistics that say that we tell ourselves off 17 times in the morning in the first 2 hours. That dress looks terrible on you, you look fat, you look old, you look this, blah, blah, blah. What if that kind of controversy was not in your life at all? What if it was smooth? What if you didn't have those conversations, those arguments with yourself? I think it's about time for us to change these patterns, because they don't really belong to us. They were implemented to us when we were really little. See, our first form of abandonment is at birth, leaving our mother's womb. And guess what? It's very scary once we come out and it's colder and it's bright and it's something that we're not used to. And our parents don't speak our language, and we don't speak theirs until eventually we do. There's a lot of misunderstanding. This is where abandonment comes from. The first time I discovered that in my studies, I was shocked. I was blown away. And I also realized that my boyfriend that I had broken up with after my husband was not the cause of this severe, deep-rooted pain. It was actually my life, which allowed me to get over that relationship so much easier once I started looking into who I was and how everything reflected for me. So we want to talk today about the mirror work, the inner child, and a little bit about the dream, believe, create process. So for those who have come to these calls, you know this is stuff that I absolutely love. If you've read the book and you have questions, awesome, ask them. If you have questions, period, ask them. So let's talk about the mirror work. The best way to face the mirror, see, I'm starting from the very beginning because we're talking about the book. So if you've done mirror work, awesome, you might pick up some tools here. And let's talk about points that keep you held back. So when we do mirror work, it's about connecting to ourself. You've heard that the eyes are the soul, the eyes are your windows to your soul. And so in reality, that really is what happens. When you stand in front of the mirror and you say, I love you, there is going to be a ton of stuff that comes up over time. And what it does is it allows our shadows, our stories, to come out to be healed. I have found that the mirror work, besides of course the inner child work, but the mirror work is the first foundational piece that needs to be broken to connect you to you. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, in the book, I teach it for those who are for everybody, but also those who can't look in the mirror. Also, I teach it to the blind and the deaf. So if you're interested in sharing it with your friends that might be blind or deaf, do read the book, because it's just a little bit different, but it really does touch us. So when we say, I love you, we're not saying our name, I love you, Mia. Why? Because soul has had many names. We've incarnated in many different times with different names. Let's not distract. Let's go straight to who we are. So when I say I love you, Mia, there's a reaction. My first reaction was, no, I don't. I hate you. And I started crying. And then I did a really odd thing. I started comforting myself. And I thought, oh my gosh, you're cracking up, girl. You're losing it big time. I was 24 years old when I decided to dig into the interpersonal work to shift my wounds, my healing, to have my healing from my trauma. So it took me a little bit of time to come back to the mirror because the mirror scared the heck out of me. When I started doing it again really intensely, I had been in a wheelchair for a long time. And I hadn't looked at myself in a mirror. I hadn't really fussed with my hair or my makeup. And so when I looked in the mirror, I couldn't even look at my face. So what I had to do was look at my eyes. So look at your eyes. Discover the beautiful color, discover the shape, discover your eyebrows, and you move out from there as you begin to understand who you are. Now, we keep a book, a notebook, so that we can journal. What comes up, write down in your notebook according to your dates that it happens, because you will see that when you're starting to get the mirror work under control and you're not laughing at yourself. So a laugh is a disconnect. Sometimes people look in the mirror and they laugh. It's a disconnect. They don't connect to themselves. It's okay, but understand it's a disconnect, and we don't want to disconnect. We want to connect deeply. So allow yourself these spaces and these times, write things down, because there will be a time when it's really simple and wow, and everything's going really well, and your day is going really well, and your week is going really well, and your times are shifting. And then all of a sudden, you've fallen and you can't get up syndrome. It's like, I've gone backwards. What has happened that I'm backwards instead of forwards? Here I've been doing this work. So that's why you pull out your notebook, you open it up, and you start to read what's going on. Your notebook and your journaling are good roadmaps to where you've been and where you're going. It can tell you and remind you if you've had an accident or a fight with a friend and you're thrown off balance. Perhaps you were sick, and then you go to the mirror and you look at yourself, and it's a different story than it was the week before. Now, the mirror work is there to support you. So I suggest you do it daily, just a minute a day. This is not about standing in front of the mirror for 10 hours, looking at yourself and trying to connect in one moment. It's time, it's integration, it's absorption within yourself. So this is a really beautiful experience. Now, I do want to take some calls or some questions from people about the mirror work, because this has not been the easiest situation for them. So we're going to break into little sections in this class where we'll talk about each thing so that we get it covered and your answers or your questions are answered. So who has a question about the mirror work? I know I was talking to Nicole before.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So when you and I first started working together, I used to actually have a condition, which I still have, where I pick my skin, and I would get in front of the mirror, and for literally hours, I would pick holes in my skin, even to the point where I had a steak knife and tweezers in my skin. And I ended up in the hospital with MRSA a bunch of times. So then I stopped looking in the mirror, and I used to hide behind wearing blue contacts for about 20 years. And I wouldn't let anyone, my boyfriends, even see me without the blue contacts. Mm-hmm. I'd wear them till they went to bed, then I'd take them off, then I'd wake up early. Like, I really couldn't look at myself. And so before I could get to the point where I could say, I love you, which I'm still working on, I had one that said, I am complete. Mm-hmm. And I am enough. I wrote on lipstick. Someone told me to write on lipstick on the mirror, I am enough. Mm-hmm. So that every time I looked into the mirror, not that I could say I love you, but just that I could say that I was enough. Mm-hmm. Because it's a huge jump to go from hating yourself and all that negative self-talk you have about yourself to jumping to I love you. So sometimes we need a step in between just
Well,
to be okay with ourselves.
Let's talk about this for a second. The I am enough. I am enough is I love you. Isn't it?
Yeah, but it just tricks your mind, because when we say the word love, it hooks me back to that my mother didn't love me because she abused me. So love is very charged for me. The words I love you. So saying I am enough was not as charged for me as saying I love you.
And so where are you now with the I love you? Because the depth of the love is not about your mother. Remember, it's about you. The healing is about releasing the mother wounds or releasing the father wounds.
And that's a really deep core
and
belief.
allowing yourself to be enough, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Enough. So when you release that, you're allowing yourself to be enough.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating, Nicole, because the space between I love you and I am enough feel warm and cozy. You and I need to, just so you know, she's also a client of mine. So that's why when I say you and I, we work on the love part, because the word love is warm and fuzzy, and it has nothing to do with our parents. It has to do with us. The connection of this work allows us to absolutely love ourselves and understand it and have our subconscious start to actually talk that way. All this work, what it's doing, guys, is it's reprogramming a system that was within you that was not very nice. Something that told you you're not good enough, you're not lovable enough, you're not attractive enough, you're too heavy, you're too skinny, you're too ugly, you're not pretty enough. These are lies that were put upon us generally when we were young and influenceable. And so under that influence, we've accepted them as who we are. And that's not the case and not the truth. When I work with women and we get them to the point of understanding this, say you take photos of yourself, you're going to start to see a difference. You're going to see the difference within yourself. I'm grateful that you brought that up, because that is a very valid point for some people who have the fear of love. See, when you can't even hold that framework, it does go back to something that scared you out of unloving yourself. You were not told that it was safe to love yourself, because if your mother or father you felt didn't love you, how could you love yourself, right? But now we've grown up and we're going to jump into in a little bit the inner child. That's where we start to work and shift this stuff too. Solely the mirror work is to open you up to the depth of you and allow you that space so that you can connect. Now,
and a really important thing that I've been realizing is that, I do have a lot of health challenges. I've had 2 surgeries in the last month, and I was so angry and hateful at my body for creating illness. And through you teaching me, that healing comes from a place of love. Love is a self-love. That's what healing is. And so as long as we're fighting against the illness or the disease, we're coming with negativity and anger and all those emotions that block out the love that we need to heal. And that's what we need to be focusing on. That self-love, is really important.
If I was to ask, and anyone who wants to answer this, just unmute yourself and mute yourself afterwards, just a plethora of answering me, of people throwing it at me. What is love to you?
Compassion.
Beautiful. Fiona, you have a camera on. Do you want to say what love is to you? And Nancy?
Accepting the other person just as they are.
That's beautiful.
Happy.
Happy. Okay. Anyone have a camera on want to say what love is to them? Okay. So in this work, what we're discovering is a higher sense of self, okay? So love, self, the depth. Do you have a higher connection within you that you can grab onto? Could it be God or your life force or prana or spirit or creator? That's what love is to me. Besides me being love, I believe that love is God. And so as a reflection, as part of the system, I am love. And I had to discover that. But for me, part of it was actually grabbing onto that I am love, that I am a connection to creator, to source, to God, to spirit. And that is what's helped me the most. That's why you'll find that my work, when I talk, I do throw in the spiritual side, because that has been the complete healing for me, to add that into the mix, into the beauty. I'm not alone. I'm not alone here. There's a higher source that has me. My mother didn't drop me off the bed on purpose, right? I was protected. I wasn't hurt as a baby. You know, kids roll off the beds all the time. They do all sorts of things. I threw that in there just as a point to show you guys that what happened to us does not need to still be binding us to the earth. Let us fly. Let us believe and understand and connect to our higher source within us, so that we are allowed to create like creators. We are allowed to love the highest way we know how. We are allowed to live in the space that we desire. And all of that has love in it. Interpersonal love, divine love, relationship love, friendship love, family love. What is love? I'd like you guys to continue your week thinking about what is love and asking yourself every morning, what is love? How can I bring it into myself? How can I feel it? There are times when I used to just breathe in the word love, breathe it in. And just I wanted to feel what love was like. And now I can easily, if I'm out of alignment and I want more love, I stop and I just bring in that feeling, that essence, and it pops right back into me. I've trained myself. This is all the training. Practice, practice, practice makes not perfect, but proficiency, not perfection, but proficiency. Just like a basketball player that makes millions of dollars, a soccer player, a drummer, a ballerina, they've done their sport their entire life. That's why they're worthy of what they are able to create in their life. We are worthy of what we want to create in our life too. We need proficiency at being who we are. Most people don't understand what it's like to be in their own skin. We're living unconsciously, day by day by day, to get through life, instead of consciously loving and creating and doing exactly what we want that feeds us and nurtures us. Okay, so thank you, Nicole and Fiona and Nancy and everyone else. I'm grateful that you're here, and I know that you're saying things to yourself, and that's good. So let's talk next about the inner child. The inner child is that beautiful aspect within us. And I see that my camera's dark, everybody. I'm sorry. I did not prep for lighting, and I blocked out the bright Miami lights in the background here. So I hope that it's bright enough for you. So the inner child is that aspect within us that has been left behind and hurt, right? We were talking about in the mirror how a lot of storylines pop up to dissuade us and make us feel like no. So let me go back to the mirror work for a moment. So keep writing everything that comes up for you in your mirror work, because you can also take that into your inner child work and heal it there in addition. The mirror work is to present your stories, your shadows, so that your soul can project forth. How many of you absolutely 100%, I mean to the toes, to the bones of who you are? You don't have to tell me, but I want you to think about it. How many of you actually believe you're a soul? You're here as a divine being, as an energy of light or love. So understand your soul essence. When we break the chains or the binds or the things that stop us in the mirror, we allow our soul to project. We allow ourselves to be who we naturally are. That's why the mirror work is so important. You're getting your stories and your shadows removed, and the joy and glory comes out. Now, the inner child, literally, it's aspects of you when you were younger. We have the inner child meditation process that's been floating around since it was on my album in 2014, and a lot of my clients use it. It's also in the Academy for the Greatest You, which is Lori Montrese and my newest venture this year. It's been very wonderful and successful. The inner child is that beauty of who you are, the one that was quieted, the one that was told to go sit in the corner. You don't have anything to say that's important. You're just a girl, right? That's part of our inner child. And we have to learn to look at our inner child and to communicate with our inner child and love our inner child. The inner child process that I'm talking about, you read the book Mirror, Mirror. It talks a lot more. If you want the inner child process, all you have to do is write me and I'll send it to you. And so the inner child process takes us through, first I quiet you down and you go into a state of relaxation. And so you're just listening to me where I'm taking you through some tall grass in the forest. And then I finally take us to our destination of your safe place. And you get to meet your inner child. There's a storyline with the inner child that pops up. And that's what needs to be healed in the meantime. So how do we heal that? If a specific situation comes to you and you're not in your inner child process where I'm not guiding you, and all of a sudden a story comes up and you're like, oh my God, I was 5 years old when some bully at school pulled my hair and told me that my parents hated me, whatever the story was. I mean, that's kind of a silly story, but some of our stories when we're little are silly that hurt us when we're grown up. So what you do is you come in as the adult you are now, this magnificent being. And especially if you don't feel that way, to your little one, to your younger inner child, you are a magnificent being because you're tall and you're grown and you seem like you got it all going on. So what we do is we support and love that aspect of the story. I'm not saying love the story of abuse or anything. I'm saying love the little child within the story that wants to be loved and nurtured. We can love and nurture ourselves, and that's how we get through a lot of this crazy space. So as we're loving and nurturing ourselves, there's healing going on because we can say to that sweet little girl, look at us. We got through it. You were past it. Let's let it go. Look where we are today. We're not in that situation. We don't have somebody yelling and screaming or hitting us or telling us off. It's how we learn to support ourselves. This is the one thing that most people don't understand is how to love and support yourself. And that's what changes the story of who you are, is going through this space and nurturing yourself. I'm not sure why, but I feel like calling on Nancy. Nancy, I have a question. Do you have anything about the inner child that's coming up for you right now as we're talking?
Well, I do have the memory of starting school. I started school in a one-room schoolhouse, and there were 3 kids in my class, about 15 in the entire school. And then in 3rd grade, I went to Catholic school, and there were more kids in my class than that were in the entire schoolroom. And I remember very vividly that first day walking in and being just totally scared to death and wanting to hide.
And I'm sure that sometimes that is reflected in your adult life today, right? Like, please, I don't want to be seen. I just want to disappear, right?
Actually, my entire working life was, I wanted to be the one in the background helping other people, but I didn't want anybody focusing on me.
Right, right. We're hiding until, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so what I would suggest is in an experience where you get quiet with yourself and you go hand in hand with that little girl into that classroom and sit her down, and you can help introduce her to kids, right? Because it's all within yourself. You're showing yourself that you've got what it takes. Introduce her to other children, show her and tell her, within yourself, this
Mhm.
is showing you that we've outgrown this. Look, you have to have experience of saying and wanting to outgrow that situation in order for it to shift. If you don't know and don't recognize and come to full terms with yourself, nothing will change. As now that you're out of your workplace, you want to not hide so much. I mean, I know we've talked before, so I know that you, and not that I'm picking on you, I'm just pulling you because you're right there and it's perfect. You want a different experience for yourself. So
Yes.
go back in and love that little girl. Show her, look, we got out of there. We're no longer that shy. Let's go and meet people and introduce her to kids that in your mind, you may not remember all the kids, but you can see children in around you, and you can introduce her. Hi, I'm Nancy. Who are you?
Mhm.
Or, hi, it's the first day of school. Nice to meet you. And you be there with her, supporting her so that she feels protected and
Yeah.
loved. That's the same breaking through of any connection that we meet with humanity. We're always meeting new people. So this is an amazing experience, honey, to try and to practice to open yourself up so that you don't have to feel shy or embarrassed or want to hide. Because I know you and you are the sweetest thing. And people want to know you because of that sweet glory that you have. You're very kind and you're very loving. So those are the things that you want to show the world. Another thing, everybody, that I talk about, just a moment, Nicole. Another thing that I talk about is if we are a believer in spirit or creation or God, then allow ourselves to feel that way when we get ready in the daytime. Allow mankind to see me how God sees me, to see me how Creator sees me, to see me how Spirit sees me. Your life in your expectancy will change, literally. When I first started doing this work, I would put God in my own space like that all the time. And my experience when I went out of the house was different than when I didn't. Now, I am a big believer in divine love, a big believer in God, and I trust a lot. And so I just threw it over to God, knowing that I would be taken care of in these situations. So I'm showing you different avenues, right? There's different paths to take for healing. But this is the path that without speaking to you all individually, this is a path that I would take into this type of situation. Allow yourself to be filled with love. You deserve it. And I'm not even going to get into let's pull off our oxygen mask before we help other people or anything, but let's look at it as we want to be filled up. We deserve to be filled up with love and happiness and self-contentment and confidence. Absolutely filled up. Yes, Nicole.
So you just said the word trust, and that was what I wanted to say, is that through doing this process with you, I realized that I had trust issues because when I was young and I was abused, I didn't feel like I protected myself. I didn't feel like other people would protect me. And also that I even felt that God wasn't protecting me because I survived. Yes, I was kept alive and not killed, but what I experienced was very traumatic. So in doing the inner child, it was difficult even to see the bigger me because I had that mistrust that I could even keep myself from harm completely. You know, that, and then it stemmed all the way, and it's challenged me even in my faith that I do believe in a divine purpose, and I do believe I have a soul, and I do believe there is a God, but I still have that question is, well, where was God when this was happening to me? You know,
you have an angry perception, and it's okay. Most humans do. you have to get past the anger and look at the self-responsibility too.
Mhm.
Because we have a self-responsibility to ourselves to stand up. There is a higher force at work here. Whatever you want to call it, there's a higher force. We've all felt it. So until you can actually get in the space where you don't condemn, create,
Yeah.
God, source, or blame, you have to trust more. There was not I know the work that you've done because I know you. I've known the work that you've done, and it's remarkable on the spiritual side and the classes that you're taking. But trust and faith have to be the foundation for any growth.
Mhm.
Because if you don't believe that even your higher source, whatever you're following, prana, life force, God, creator, source, whatever it is, if you don't believe in that, you don't believe in yourself.
Mhm.
You can't. Because if you didn't believe in that, there's a higher source within yourself that you believe.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I've worked with almost every single religious belief, including Muslims and fundamentalist Catholics and Hare Krishnas. I mean, all over the globe, I've worked with people. And this is what I've determined from the work that I've done as a teacher. And I teach this work as a resource project to help humanity shift and change. So you have to find that space within yourself that has that height and that love and that desire. And we can't blame our mothers and our fathers, just like we can't blame God. Where were you?
Mhm.
If we blame God, we're losing our trust, we're losing our higher, or, whether you call it, again, I have to keep repeating this because people don't always hear. Whatever you call divine love, you've got to find that strength within you. And why are you questioning divine love? And why are you not feeling loved enough? Do your work to connect to that energy, and you will never turn back.
Yeah.
So the blame game has to stop. And I'm saying that maybe more forcefully with you because we do work together.
Yeah, I understand. Like when you first are healing, you blame other people. You blame the abuser who's abusing you. You blame your parents. Then what happens is you say, okay, well, my soul has chosen this incarnation, and for everything that happens has happened as a divine purpose. And I've had contracts with all these people. So then I got angry at my soul because I'm like, if I had the choice of choosing joy and love and peace and harmony, why did I put myself into all this crap to learn
Because
from?
you didn't choose it enough. You didn't choose it enough. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Support and crap wouldn't exist if you chose it enough. If you chose that to have harmony and trust and love in yourself, then that's what you're choosing.
Mhm.
Anything else is the opposite, and that's not your choice.
Mhm.
That's your new choice to believe in that.
Yeah.
Or your old choice that's coming back up because you've lost your faith.
Mm.
If there is, everything is not just black and white, there's grays, right? You have to understand what your fact is. You have to understand what's most important to you. Getting lost in the blame game is not going to heal anyone or anything, literally. And so I'm repeating this because this is very important, guys, in the healing. We get confused, we get frustrated, we get frustrated. And it's okay. Gentleness is the way in. If you can imagine a sunflower and how it follows the sun, imagine yourself following divine love. If you're going to yell at yourself, you're like a thundering rainy day where a flower closes up and hides because there's no sun to follow. And that's the path you're following, the darker side. You don't want that. So open up to love and gentleness, and your healing will transpire that much faster. that much faster your healing will happen. The inner child work is to love and nurture you. And then we take you through parts work, which are the parts as you start to elevate and shift of who you are to also change your story. The very cool thing that Lori and I do is bringing the inner child and parts work together, which you don't see other people doing, but they are hand in hand because it's the aspect of us when we're younger. So be gentle with yourself. No one has probably told you to be gentle. Be gentle. That's the way into healing. That's the way into love. If you stood in the mirror, as we were talking about mirror work earlier, if you stood in the mirror and told yourself off in the mirror every time you looked in, how are you going to silence that noise and hear what you need to hear to heal?
Mhm.
Have to allow the quiet and the love in so that we can see our path that we need to follow. We can chase our tail all we want. I chased my tail the second time in my life, you know, when I put down my work, my self-healing, self-love work, whatever. And then until I picked it up again, I put it down for a while and I chased myself like a crazy person. Literally, I felt like I was chasing my tail. So what do you want? You have a choice. Life is a choice. We choose to come here. We choose to believe. You know, I want to bring up something that, sorry, there's I'm in an Airbnb, and so there's actually somebody right next door making noise talking. I'm sorry, because I'm traveling here in Miami. So the choice that you were talking about, Nicole, about our soul has a choice. We come here and this is all here to help us. Look, I've learned over this lifetime that humans actually blame themselves far too much.
Mhm.
We put ourselves down, we blame ourselves, and then we get caught in this rut and we can't get out. Well, I chose this. I don't know how to get out of it. Look, guys, life happens too. It's part of the human dream. Stop blaming yourself and start loving yourself. And see how that feels and how fast you grow from there. In the space of gentleness, you will flourish. But you have to stay in that space of gentleness and learn how to have a new conversation with yourself. Every time you put something out of your mouth, or even in your thoughts, guess what's happening? You're reinforcing your subconscious.
Yeah.
What do you want to put in there? My subconscious now actually most of the time talks consciously. It matches my consciousness. I've heard, I love you. I've got you. This is easy. Different times, you know, no matter what it is, I hear myself talking to me to support and guide me. I've developed a guidance system within myself that I deserve. Everybody deserves to have a complete guidance system. That's what this work does, is it changes the negative aspects into how you want to become a creator and create the life that you wanted. Literally, this is not just talk. These are proven factual theories that people do to change their lives. So we talked about the inner child. Be loving to yourself as you review these stories. We have a ton of stories, guys. We got to stop spewing them to the world and start healing them. I remember when I first started dating after I left my first husband and telling these people, these men, my story. Ooh, when I look at it now, ooh, I was like vomiting on them. You know, that's what we do. Telling stuff, sharing, getting to know you. Well, I wasn't healed, right? We have to heal in order to grow and to experience a different life. That's why as we go through and we do the mirror work, we do the inner child work, our lives start to shift and change. We can't stop because we're not proficient enough to stop, right? Practice makes proficiency, just like the people that get paid millions of dollars. They've done their thing for a long time to program how to be a great musician, a ballerina, a basketball player. right? They've done that. So whatever you want, you have to create yourself and program yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. We have to do it ourselves. And gentleness also makes the journey so much happier and loving because it shifts you that much quicker, literally that much quicker you shift when you're kind and gentle to yourself. So I would suggest doing your mirror work in the morning. Get up, smile and laugh, force a laugh, learn how to laugh before your feet hit the floor. If you're having trouble, do a gratitude journal of 5 things in the morning and 5 things at night that you're grateful for. And they can't be the same things that you did in the morning. Think of something different. Expand your awareness, expand who you are. Get up, go into the mirror as you're going to, or into the bathroom, as you're going to the restroom or whatever you do in the morning, and do your mirror work. Don't brush your teeth and do your mirror work. Don't put your makeup on and do your mirror work. That's not mirror work. You're distracted. You are so worth the attention to give yourself for your healing. Everything is healed within the walls that are actually in that book. The reason I wrote that book in 2016 was, 1, I wanted people to have a framework of healing, and 2, I wanted people to know what kind of work I did. But as I read it to teach classes, like I spent time and I reread my book yesterday because I wanted to be up on that. So when I came in here, I knew the sections of the book that we could talk about that actually were relevant to healing you. And guess what happened? I was blown away. I haven't taught this class in a couple years like this. I was blown away. I was like, wow, this book is really well written. So take that information. It's also on Amazon a lot of times for free. It's free when I give it to you. When you ask for it or when I share it, it's free. Sometimes it's free on Amazon in a Kindle form. The Love Revolution book that I have out there is also free at times. I market more free. I try to have them do more free than selling it because this information is important for people to get out. Now, not everything that I do is free, okay? And that's where you've got to understand that take information that's important to you and find your people and find your tribe where you want your healing. Because there are people out there that have amazing work, such as this stuff. And also, I want to say before we get into the Dream, Believe, Create, Lori and I have created the Greatest You Academy. It's this work intensified on emotions, how to shift out. If you've been doing this work, the program that we have is accelerated to this. If you need, there's a number up there.
What? Hang on.
Who's, sorry. Okay. So Cheryl, if you need to, if you want to say something, you can unmute yourself again, but I muted you because I wasn't sure if you knew that you were unmuted. So this,
I like in the academy, because I'm in the academy.
yes.
A lot of the processes that Lori does, like the somatics work, are really helpful of getting you in touch with yourself and your emotions.
Yes.
And understanding where your mental patterns, where your stories, where your emotions are clouding your judgment in the way you're viewing the world and your perception. And I found that particularly helpful, and that, you know, you're both supportive, and every week, every second week, there's a call where we can have our questions answered. So for anyone that's not doing that, I really recommend it.
Yeah, it's an incredible space. Beautiful. And now let's talk about the Dream, Believe, Create process. And before we run out of time. So the Dream, Believe, Create process is something that we also teach in the Academy. It's something that I created, and many people have an offshoot of this that they've created too, with a different name. Lori and I kept the name because it's been in print for 13 years. But she had a process very similar to this as well. And so what we do is we take the 5 pillars of life, which is love and relationship, home, body, work, and spirituality, and your spirituality. And we recreate those to see where we are and to where we want to be. Who has allowed you to dream, to expand your awareness into recreating? It's something that's not encouraged very much. A lot of us, it was beaten out of us when we were little. You know, the whole thing, Stop being a daydreamer, stop dreaming. Well, that's how we actually connect to what we want to create in life. That's how we can be creators, is by understanding where we want to go. So when you look at your spirituality, where are you in that path? Are you happy? Is everything in tune? What would you like to create so that you feel more spiritually aligned to you? Write that down. Look at your love life. How is that? Is that smooth? And it's not just with your partner. It's with yourself. It's with your children. It's with your friends. Who are you and how do you create your existence with others, your relationship? Go over your work, go over your home, check out your body. Are you happy in your body? This temple is here to carry us through our entire life. Body, mind, and spirit are all connected together. I call it the Trinity. When we do our work and we activate our spirituality, our body, and our mind, all of this work together, we become a new type of species on Earth, literally. We are different than anyone else because we are active in creating a life that's different. And so we heal our stuff and we move forward. So in the Dream, Believe, Create, you want to take some quiet time, like a meditation time, to go through this. It's also in the book. There's also CDs out there or tracks that we do. You could probably find it on my YouTube channel if you Google dream.believe.create or write me and ask me. So do this work to expand to know where you want to go in your life. It was 2009 or 2008 on my birthday when I woke up. I had been in an accident at a department store that carries everything. I'm not allowed to say the name. And boxes fell and hit me on the head. And I ended up being taken away by ambulance and in a wheelchair for 5 years. No longer, I got out of the wheelchair at that point. When this Dream, Believe, Create process came to me was my massive healing. It was on my birthday. I could see my saboteur sitting across from me, literally saying, you're not going to die. They're not taking you out on a gurney, because I was told that I had less than 2 years to live and to get my affairs in order. And what do you do when somebody, your doctors, tells you that? You've got children that are young, you're in a marriage, you have a life. It was pretty sad. So I recreated my experience and I saw I was not happy in my relationship with my husband, that it was keeping me back. And I saw so much as I went through each of those pillars that I shared with you. I was pretty happy with my spiritual awareness. Okay, my relationship, no. I could see something different. My work life, I could actually see that I wanted to be a coach. I closed down my business after I had that awareness and opened up coaching. But I had to grow before I did that. But I took the time to focus on myself. So look where you need love and support in your life for you, and you can shift and change these and reach out and do work if you need help. If you need guidance, guys, that's how we get changed and that's how we move. I've been very fortunate because I've had this great relationship with the divine or God my whole life. I've been a metaphysician, a third generation, and I've been praying and healing since I was really little. But guess what? I reach out to coaches too. It's a smart thing to do. It's the only way to accelerate yourself when you're stopped. Or, when I say coaches, I'm talking about a professional that does this type of work. So get into this space, get to know yourself in the mirror, get to know who you are, do your inner child work, and heal these wounds that have stopped you. You need to live the most glorious life. Spend time in your Dream, Believe, Create process, dreaming and creating the life that you want, even if it sounds ridiculous. Even if it sounds ridiculous. Because if your heart's desire is there, it's the human side, the child side that's telling you, you can't do that. If people told me I would be who I am today and I would have the following that I have today, if they told me that when I first started, I would have said to them, that sounds nice, but I'm not sure. Seriously. I wouldn't negate that it sounded fabulous. Thank you. That sounds really great. But I wouldn't have believed it because I hadn't experienced it. I was still at the very beginning and I didn't have my path set up. I created that. And I created the life that I live today. So I'm encouraging you all to do this, sorry, I'm just looking to make sure people keep wanting to come in. Do this for you. This is all about you. This has nothing to do with me and my business partner, Lori, or anyone else on the call here. This has to do with you. Questions? Okay. All right, guys. So you don't have the book that I've put everywhere. Find it on your link and download it and read it. And then write me at Mia Signs, write me if you have questions. I'm happy to support that. Come to the Tuesday free talks for the Academy that we have. It's every other Tuesday when we're not coaching in the Academy. Those go out by email. Those are powerful talks. I also send out the replays. Do the work that's coming through Women Making Miracles, which is mine and Lori's company, that we have The Greatest You, and now we have Get Ready for Love coming out. At the end of this month, we have our masterclass. Do the work for you. It's not for anybody else, it's for you, okay? And ask questions, because there are people that are here to support you that truly, truly care. So thank you very much. It was really wonderful to have you all, and I'm going to turn off the recording.